Well, good afternoon. Hey, how you doing, everybody? It's actually it's not a beautiful day, and I don't care what anybody says. This Florida is. Everybody says, "Well, the great state of this, and this is the great state, the great state." Well, actually, today is Thursday, and Florida is not a great state. By the way, I'm not trying to sell anything, but I'm over here and drinking down here in North Miami Beach, North Miami, and they change the restaurant every now and then. About a year and a half ago, I guess I was here, and I did a video from the other restaurant. It was a Brazilian restaurant. Now it's a Cuban restaurant. So I got a pork sandwich, a nice shake, and some plantains. Okay. Oh, nope. Sorry. Wrong way. I didn't know. They only have the windows on this side. So, okay. It's Sergio's is the place. And it's really nice. But today, I've been in Florida for a lot of years. Okay. Let's put it this way. This is how long I've been in Florida. When I was in Montana, that's where I voted for the first time, okay? In the presidential election, Ronald Reagan, okay? Sorry. Ronald Reagan, okay? That's where I originally voted. Because I'll never forget, Flathead County, Montana, and casting my vote. Going up there, registering, and then later casting my vote at the precinct. It was great. It was a great experience. Now, on September 18th, I've been a registered Republican all throughout my life. And I moved back down to Miami on September 18th. Actually, September 18th, 1980.
You want to try a little coqueta?
Oh, sure. Thank
like
you.
That.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm gonna try a little coqueta. All right. Well, it's great. I love it. Maybe I'll get a couple more to go. So I'm waiting for my ride so I can go back home. Excuse me. So when I moved I moved to Miami in. I left Montana in February of 1981. Oh, that's great. Those are great, by the way. Excellent.
Like it?
Excellent.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you. So hopefully they'll be here next time when I come down here and do it. Getting back to the point. So I left Montana in February of 1981. Okay. Came down back to Miami, and in the process I've been here ever since. On September 18th is when I registered in Florida to on September 18th, 1981 is the date that I registered to vote in the Florida elections. Over the years, let me explain to you, and this comes from, I would say this is an independent voter. And when I say independent, I don't mean the party type, okay? I'm disabled, but I'm a Florida voter. I've been in Florida, I've voted in Florida elections since 1981, all the way up until this last week, which the fiasco of 2000 was one thing. But what's going on in Palm Beach and Broward County, it's amazingly crazy. All right, so let me explain to you what's going on over the years. So I would vote and in the elections, every year for whatever. For the major elections, whatever. One year I was in the hospital, so I took advantage, and that was the only time I took advantage of voting absentee, is because when I was in the hospital, and I knew I was going to be in the hospital ahead of time. So I had surgery on, and so when I went in, and everything went great. No problems. This was back in the 80s. Excuse me, back in the mid 80s. Okay, I think it was 1984 or 1986. No, I think it was 19. Honestly, I don't know. 1987. Could it have been 1987? I think so. Bob, I'll never forget it. I think it was Bob Butterworth was running, and I think it was in Florida, Attorney General. And there was some sort of, I think there was some sort of incident with his family. But I don't know the details. I don't recall the details. But it was an experience I'll never forget because my vote counted then. So everybody's vote counts. That's the main thing. But me, as an independent voter, okay, very independent. Doesn't mean my party. I am a Republican, through and through. But I'm willing, if the guy's not doing good, and if there's no representation, then I'm not going to vote. I only vote for the right person. Just because he's a Republican doesn't mean that I'm going to be down the party line. They got to have some sense and sensibility. Okay. So over the years. Throughout the years, as time goes on and the progress we made, we moved from one area to another. And I remember when my wife and I, Yana and I, we went to, we now live in, up here in Aventura, a little north of North Miami Beach, but it's still in the Miami area. So at that time, Aventura wasn't the city then, as it is today. And they went, but before that, I voted in, we lived in Miami Lakes, and in the community we were in fact, it was in the same area that Dan Marino first moved. This is how long ago it was. It was at the Moors, okay, in Miami Lakes. And that's where Dan Marino used to live way back when. All right, but the polling place was right there on the property. In the, you would go and anybody in that area, which was great. I would get on my scooter and go on over and vote. And this is when it all started. Every time I would go in to vote, and we were there for a few years, every time I would go in to vote, they wanted to help me out. No, I don't need no help. I can make my own choices. And then when I went in there, they said, well, at that time you wouldn't go in, sign the party, or basically have to sign it. They didn't have the scanner or the readers. So I go in and read, and sign it. But I go in and say I'm a Republican. No, you're a Democrat. What the heck is that crap? Now this is back in probably in the 1990s. At that time, because we were over in Miami Lakes at that time. Of course, we have several different precincts here in Florida, especially in Dade County. So, went over there, and that's the abuse. That's the abuse that started. And then they wanted to make sure I was doing. Then they would look over my shoulder, and this is when we had the Chads and everything, and but we still didn't have the problem like we did in 2000. So, then. My wife and I, we finally, I think it was roughly 10 years, roughly in, I think 2000, we moved over to the Aventura area. But Aventura wasn't really a city at that time. Well, it was a city at that time. Yeah, it was a city at that time. But it wasn't really, the polling places and the government center wasn't built up yet. So at that time, if you were in that area, you would have to go to the fire stations. And the majority of the people would vote at the fire department. So I'll never forget it. I went to vote at the fire department. But you know what? I couldn't get into this is where the issue with ADA comes in. And accessibility for every voter. All right. So they said, and it was a hot day. So I went out there and stood in line, and so I had somebody say, "Oh, well," one of the poll workers said, "Oh, well, you just tell me who you want to vote for, and we can do that." I'm looking at him and I'm like, "Are you out of your frickin' mind? What the heck is this?" So again, now this is in, I think 2000, roughly. I think it was 2000 because it was the first year we were here. And I said, what do you mean doing that stuff? That's not going to happen. And so basically, bottom line is that they said, but you can't get inside to vote. I said, well, you're not going to vote for me. I'm able to do it. And then the people, and this is the poll workers at the time, and this is way back when, they said, well, you could have done an absentee ballot. I said, no, I could have, but I didn't. So that's another issue. So anyway, as time went by, okay, so in that particular, the first time we ever voted when we were in Aventura, we had to go to the fire department because right now they have it at several different locations, accessible to everybody, wheelchair accessible, ADA accessible, and everything else, which is great. But here's the big problem. When so that year I voted, but I had to vote outside. So they came out with the ballot. I voted, and then I went all the way in as far as I could. And I said, no. You bring the ballot box to me. You come on out and do it to me. But I was outside when they did it. They wanted me. I said, no. That's not how it works. So basically, I was the problem because I was a disabled. I was what they call an independent voter. I wanted to do it my way. I didn't want to do it their way. I wanted to, they had rules and regulations and stuff. So we had issues and issues and issues. As years progressed, I'll never forget, they tried curbside voting up here. So you would go in and you would go around by the library, you'd be able to park, and instead of going in to vote, they would come out and vote, right? So the cars would line up and everything. That didn't last too long. They'd bring out the ballots and, but that only lasted, one time. And it didn't really, it worked for me, it was great. I'll never forget, I was standing in line, not standing in line, sitting in line, and people were, bouncing on my car or whatever. I would just set off my alarm, and my alarm would go off, and I think, people would get annoyed. But people were actually jumping on my car, on the hood and stuff. But I did vote. I was able to vote each and every year. But when you have what's going on right now, okay, you got issues with, Brenda Snipes. She's got some really great, really wild problems over the past years. Okay, and I don't know why she's still in office. But the latest thing that's going on is the thing in Palm Beach County. They have $11 million that they could have spent allotted to spending for updating their ballot system for this particular reason. Why they didn't? Now, that is basically an abuse of she should be, whoever is in Broward County, not Broward, this is for Palm Beach County. Whoever's in Palm Beach County should be removed from office. She's basically, poor mismanagement of funds, particularly for, updating new machines. And her reasoning, from what I've heard, and if I'm wrong, so be it. But her reasoning behind it is that they're going to be changing anyway, and they didn't want to waste the money. And so, what can you say? So that's the way that goes. But can you believe that crap? So we'll see what happens. So today is Thursday. It's not 3 o'clock yet. So by the time this video goes out, and you're going to see it later today, hopefully, and you'll understand why. We're going to have issues. Still have issues. Don't forget, next week, North Miami Beach, they have a runoff elections. that they're going to be working in Florida. Okay, for whatever reason, they got runoff elections in North Miami Beach, and there's several different polling places that have to be open. Before I forget, on another issue that nobody's been covering is the way the Aventura system is, and that's on the touch screen. So when you're touching the screen, it's not only for touching screen, but it's for people with ADA issues. When I went to vote the Sunday before it closed, I think I had to wait for a while, but I waited and everything, so I went to vote. But when I went in line and everything, I said, no, I went in line, nobody asked me, and but when I went through the process, said we have to swipe the ID and go through and everything. So, and then we got to go through another line and everything. But after I swiped through the ID and and they handed me the big card, but instead of doing that, they just instead of doing that, they just handed me the thing and they said, okay, you can go on and vote. I said, no, I want the touch screen. I need to, do the touch screen. Everybody looked at me as like I was crazy. And I said, well, you should have asked me. Oh, we don't ask. Well, why not? Okay, because if people need assistance, they should be able to ask. That's the problem. There's a communication problem. Somewhere along the line, they have to ask. They should ask, right? But anyway, so see, you have the communication. If you have the accessibility issues, ADA issues, and people who are hearing impaired or whatever, or visually impaired or whatever, and they have the system in place. But, and so I kept asking the people, why? Why do I have to ask? And they looked at me like I was crazy. And this is when I took part in early voting. And one of the responses was, well, you could have voted absentee. And I'm thinking, no, I couldn't have. Because I don't want to waste any of the taxpayers' money if I didn't have to use it that way, if I knew I could take advantage of early voting and do it that way. But nobody could give me a straight answer. So that's another problem with, you have the systems in place, but unless you ask for it, if you, a person who is not challenged or physically challenged, I'm saying handicapped, crippled, disabled, whatever you want. There's nothing challenged about me, physically challenged. I'm handicapped, okay? And plain and simple. I was born disabled. I was born a cripple, okay? Cut this PC police, the politically correct, shoot that crap out the window. Okay, that's nonsense. But if you have the system in place, make it easy, keep it simple. If it's obvious, people will look at you, oh, do you need assistance? Well, see, they have things that come up on the thing that say, oh, well, it shows here that you need assistance. Okay? But the poll workers and whatever, they can't say, oh, well, they don't say, well, we have the touch screen over here that you can use unless the voter asked for it. But how crazy is that? You got it? It works both ways. So what I would like to know is how many people are using the Aventura system. That's simple. The handicap, for the handicap, the touch screen, the visual aids. People complain, well, they didn't vote because they didn't see in Broward County because of the placement of Rick Scott and Bill Nilsson and everything for the center. And that's where part of the problem was. Well, that wasn't part of the problem. That may have been part of the problem on a ballot, but you go through the touchscreen system and it's accurate. It's accountability. I've never had a problem with it. So anyway, that's your views from an independent Florida voter, a registered Republican. Y'all have a good day. Today is deadline Thursday for the Florida recount. Stay tuned for the runoff elections next week. Okay, next Tuesday, runoff elections, North Miami Beach. All right, stick around. Take care. Happy Thursday. All right. Throwback Thursday, or is it Throw Up Thursday? It doesn't matter. But I'm here at Sergio's Cuban restaurant here in North Miami right now, and it's been fun talking to you. Enjoy.